Now, for parents of premature babies, being separated from their newborn when they're first born is often the hardest thing. Now, a new study suggests involving mums and dads in their hospital care improves the child's well-being. Well, 6 months ago, this programme went to Leeds Hospital, where they were trialling such a scheme.
Baby Lola's in the special care unit at St James's or Jimmy's Hospital. Born at 23 weeks, Lola's chances of survival were slim.
During labour, one of the neonatal consultants came to see us. He painted a really bad picture that, she could have all sorts of problems. In the intensive care unit, it was terrifying. It's something that very few people get to see, I would imagine. She was absolutely tiny. She had wires coming out of everywhere. She did actually have a twin brother, but sadly he didn't survive. She's given us something positive to focus on. I don't know how we'd have coped if it wasn't for her.
But as soon as she left intensive care, Mum Anna took over from the nurses.
So one of the jobs that we have to do is take a temperature, maybe every 3 or 4 hours. It's just a simple procedure really, just a thermometer on the wall, and then it's just a case of going in under her arm.
St James's Hospital was the first in the UK to introduce what's called family integrated care.
Family integrated care aims to get the parent at the very centre of the team caring for the baby. Parents are taught to pass nasogastric tubes and to feed their babies. They're taught temperature taking.
Basically everything but the most complex medical treatment.
And do you know what you're looking for here then?
Yeah, it's got to be within a certain range.
But the idea's not new. Family integrated care was introduced in the former Soviet Union in the 1970s. Then it was a solution to a shortage of nurses. Here in Leeds, they say it's not.
And be honest, were you ever concerned that it was a cost-cutting measure or that there was an element of that? Never?
No, I don't know, because I think initially it isn't really a cost-cutting measure because it takes a lot more time to get the parents competent.
The problems of having a premature baby are well known. The bonding process is much harder to establish. Breastfeeding rates are lower. There's also a financial impact. With car parking, meals and loss of earnings, an average stay in a neonatal unit costs families well over £2,000. And then there's the psychological impact. Parents of premature babies are twice as likely to suffer from postnatal depression.
It's not rocket science. It is such a straightforward thing to do to allow parents to look after their babies. The fact is that families are going home more confident and more able to care for their babies, and that means a lot.
For Anna, it meant bringing her baby home weeks earlier than expected.
I love her. She's perfect. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, she's my little miracle. You are, aren't you?
Well, here to talk about this idea is Victoria Russell. She's here with her daughter Nancy, who was born at 26 weeks and spent 4 months in neonatal care. Richard Hobden sadly lost his son Noah, who was born prematurely, and set up a charity called Noah's Big Charity in his honour. And we're also joined by Dr. CGale, who is a neonatal consultant at Chelsea and Westminster Hospital here in London. Thank you all for coming in, especially you, Nancy. I'm hoping you're going to chat lots to me over the next few minutes. Victoria, for people who haven't been into a neonatal unit and experienced that, just share with people what that is like and how difficult it can be for parents.
It's so difficult, it's so traumatic. You obviously have a baby way before you're expected to, and then you're in this very sterile environment surrounded by doctors, and your baby's in a plastic box. You can't touch the baby, or it's so difficult to bond, and it's absolutely terrifying because you've no idea if you're going to take your baby home at the end of it.
It's all that time when other mums have got skin-to-skin contact, they're breastfeeding, and you don't have that time with them.
No, I mean, I don't think I held Nancy for the first 10 days, and then my first hold, it was a military operation to try and get her out of the incubator with all the wires and then hold her. Were you being so scared?
Richard, I want to bring you in because your son Noah was in neonatal for several months, wasn't he?
Yeah, 91 days. We had Noah with us. Unfortunately, due to the nature of his birth, my wife suffered a cardiac arrest at home, a heart attack. and as a result, they needed to deliver Noah at 24 weeks and 6 days, so in essence 15 weeks early. He was rushed, he was taken to Basildon University Hospital and then subsequently rushed to Royal London. And at that age, he's one of the youngest. I think the lady on the promo, her child was 23 weeks, but at 24 weeks and unplanned, it's a harrowing process. The teams at Royal London were fantastic, the teams at Basildon were fantastic, but a lot of it's a waiting game. Unfortunately, 90 days into the 91 days, when certain tests could be undertaken because of his age, it was proved that his brain hadn't developed. So as a result, unfortunately, decisions had to be made, and Noah subsequently passed away. But that's not to say that the care that we saw was just exquisite. As with all NHS areas, there are staff shortages and whatnot, but the staff there working there, it's not just a 12-hour shift. It's the hour before, it's the hour after. We've become very good friends with a number of the nurses that were on unit helping Noah, and as a result of Noah's journey, we felt we wanted to give something back, so set up Noah's big charity to help. We support specifically Basildon and the Royal London, but that is to provide additional equipment to help others who are in the situation that we found ourselves in.
Now, I'm interested to know how to sort of compare your experiences, because I know that your experience was a little bit more hands-on, like this suggestion.
Yeah, it was very hands-on, and I'm so thankful now that we were encouraged when she was very young to take part in her cares, so to change her nappy, which sounds normal, but it's a really big deal when they're so small. To give medication, because obviously when she came home she was on, I think, 13 different medications. So had I not done that on the ward, then I would have been absolutely terrified to do it at home. So it made a big, big difference to us, being able to do that.
And for you, Richard, you had a less hands-on experience.
We actually had more hands, even reflecting on it as a result of coming on here today. My wife came out of hospital, I believe it was not 18 days she was in hospital recovering from the actual heart attack. And when she came to unit, obviously being separated from Noah for an extended period was very hard, and actually coming back in contact with him wasn't a straightforward process. It wasn't going to be, but very quickly they offered skin-to-skin care, kangaroo care, and it was phenomenal. Reflecting back on it, that change in Lydia, just by being able to hold him, was amazing. But pretty much like Victoria said, it's a military operation. I think, reflecting back on it, we needed 2 nurses to orchestrate getting him out of the incubator with all the wires, and he was, for the vast majority of the time there, he was on ventilated support. So, but we've got some cherished photos of Lydia holding Noah that mean the world, and in terms of what I understand about the report and how it helps both parents and babies, I think that's great. But it's all, as far as I'm concerned, it's all within reason. Depends on the baby, depends on the parents, depends on the time available that, certain parents, if they're travelling from distance, etc. I think the report, was talking to Chris earlier, they're asking for a dedication of 6 hours a day.
6 hours a day.
We were very fortunate. At the time, my employer was very good, and I was able to have an extended period off of work. We had grandparents who were phenomenal in terms of, we had an 18-month-old daughter at the time. Other people aren't that fortunate, and trying to juggle it whilst trying to be there for your child that's in this intensive environment, it's hard, but manageable.
Let's bring Chris in on that, because I'm interested to know, why is it necessary to commit 6 hours a day as a parent? Clearly any parent would want to be there as much as they could be, but it's not going to be practical for everyone, is it?
And I think the first thing to say is this trial that was done is a really remarkable achievement. It's a really fabulous piece of research, showing a kind of innovative way of testing involvement of parents more in an experimental way, and I think it's great. It's a huge achievement, and I think that's really why the 6-hour requirement was there, and that was to try and make it as experimental as possible, so that they could say any effect we see is due to having parents being there and delivering the care as part of the clinical team for a good portion of the day.
So what's the difference between what's sort of done now and what's being recommended in this report?
So there are units in the UK that are doing family integrated care, as from this study, as you saw, in Leeds, and there's some in London and elsewhere. Many other units in the UK...
Nancy, do you want to play with that? You can have a fiddle if you want, I don't mind. Sorry, carry on, Chris.
That's all right. Most of the other units in the UK apply a slightly lesser approach of family-centred care, which really tries to involve parents as much as possible, with lots of skin-to-skin kangaroo care, feeds, changing nappies and things, but falls short of really some of the clinical tasks which are part of family integrated care.
And is there a risk if parents are administering drugs and things like that? I mean, you wonder if it's crossing that line?
And I think that's why a lot of units have been waiting for this research to come out, to say, is it safe? Are there any potential problems? And this research did not find any adverse effects. There were no problems that they identified. And they had nearly 2,000 babies in this study across 25 intensive care units in Canada, New Zealand and Australia. So this is a very big study, and this is the kind of information that I think neonatal units across the country have been waiting for, to see about moving forward with integrating parents more into care. But I'd just like to echo what Richard said. I think it really is about the parents themselves in many ways, and many parents won't be able to provide nearly as much time as that due to other children or other caring responsibilities. And some parents may not want to do this.
Yeah, may find it difficult. It's a difficult environment to be in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Listen, we could speak for so much longer. I'm so sorry we have to bring it to a close, but thank you all so much for coming in, especially you, Nancy. You've been very, very good.